Looking to replace your OEM diesel particulate filter or diesel oxidation catalyst? Look no further than DPF X-Fit, a complete line of aftermarket diesel particulate filters and diesel oxidation catalysts designed as an exact fit OEM replacement with all makes coverage for light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks. With thousands of units in stock, we ship the same or next day, and be sure to check out our comprehensive reverse OEM lookup tool. Always new, never remanufactured. For more information, be sure to visit dpfxfit.com. That's dpfxfit.com.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio is back on the air as we get ready for the In-N-Out Burger NHRA Finals. In-N-Out Burger Pomona Dragstrip, Southern California, the birthplace of drag racing in general. We're going back for the most significant race of the year. That's right, the finals championships will be decided. Some have already been decided. We're going to talk about that with the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, who will be joining us just moments from now. We got a couple of great guests as well. Two of the three championship contenders in the Mission Foods Pro Stock Eliminator. We got Aaron Stanfield. We got Dallas Glenn. Greg Anderson is out there looming as well, very much in the championship hunt, but we're going to connect with Double Aaron. We're going to connect with Double O Dallas, and it's going to be wild to see how it all turns out. Top Fuel still totally wide open. Pretty cool. Did a press conference yesterday with Sean Langdon, Antron Brown, Justin Ashley, kind of hearing their vibe on the championship. And it's going to come down to the wire, right? Three of the greatest that we've seen. Justin's still looking for that top of the resume accolade, the championship, but Antron's got three. Sean's got a bunch in various categories. He's won just about everything he's driven. Coming in off the heartbreak, rushing the car back to precision-built race cars, having it redone. So many interesting stories going on in Top Fuel. Funny car coronation. Austin Prock. It's over. But how will he finish it off? You know, it's a different kind of thing. He'll be crowned. He'll be coronated. He'll be a champion early on, but they're definitely going to want to win the race, I'm sure. And everybody else, right? You might have seen my chance meeting with Guido at the SEMA show, and they are like wanting to get a win. So much to see. And of course, Gage Herrera, another coronation. But someone's going to want to spoil the show. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk Lucas Oil Series. We're going to get into the ins and the outs of Southern California and the importance of drag racing. But I do want to tell you about the people to make it possible for me to go WFO Radio. It's pretty amazing. The folks at like CWT Industries, balance machines for machine shops, guys. Getting ready for the PRI show. Randy Neal's going to be there. Always swing by the CWT Industries booth and learn why touchscreen is so much better than the way you were doing it before. Quicker, faster, more intuitive, makes you money, more accurate. CWTindustries.com. Check them out. Call Randy Neal. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio, whether it's whatever it is. If it rotates, it can be balanced from giant Cat 3500s to LS and small block Chevrolets. You got to balance it right. CWT Industries, and we balanced Project Pontiac on a CW Industry balancer. Super cool to have them involved, as well as the folks at Jesse Converters and Total Seal Piston Rings. We appreciate those guys. FTI Performance, as you heard, the Power Glide that will be in Project Pontiac when we first hit the racetrack. Bernie Speed Shop, though. Josh Hart making moves. Josh Hart, if you keep your ear to the ground, you'll know what some of the moves are. It's not time to talk about them just yet, but Josh Hart is making moves. And Bernie's is at the center of it. Over 100,000 square feet. This is where the Gator Nationals kick off with a big fan fest next year, 2025. Think about that. Drag Racing 2025. It's insanity. What's not insanity is the fact that you can get a classic muscle car, exotic car, pony car, whatever you want over there at Bernie's. They sell e-bikes, but if you want to sell yours to the right people, Josh Hart and his team have put together the great contacts, not just here in the United States, but overseas, that might really appreciate that vehicle that you're going to put out in a field near your house with a sign. Yeah, they could probably do it a little better. Of course, there's a fee, but you'll end up making more money in the long run. Go to Bernie's, BURNYZZ.com. Check out their social media. You'll love them. Of course, Foggett. The best gift you can get the wife for the holidays. She will love a can of Foggett. I don't know if that's true. I just want you to buy a can of Foggett because once you have it around the house, you can use it on everything, even if you don't have a high-performance racing engine. If you do, then you know exactly what it's for. Could be in a go-kart, could be in a golf cart, could be in a weed eater. But really, if you have an engine that you've worked so hard to get the hone perfect, that's what Foggett is for. At the conclusion of a night of racing, you fog it down, and you're basically, I don't use the word pickle, but you're protecting the inside of the racing engine, the cylinders, the valve seats, anything that can get microscopic corrosion or rust will be protected until the next time you fire it up. Foggit, available at summit-racing-equipment.com and amazon.com as well. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about our great friend Marvin Rodak, who's making the coffee that keeps me fired up, 817-924-6821. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, where champions go to learn how to become champions. And of course, our great friends at samtech.edu. And we'll even tell you how to become a member, VIP Listener Club, Patreon. But right now, let's bring him on. The voice of the NHRA. I can't even begin to guess where he's at. I do ask you to share the show for all the drag racing fans out there. We're powered by your shares. And the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us now. What's up, Alan? How are you?
Hi, Joe. I'm hiding out in a hotel room in places unknown on my way to Pomona. And how come you're not allowed to talk about Josh Hart's thing?
Because
why can't we talk about Josh Hart's thing? I mean, I know about it.
I know about it too.
Well, I mean, look.
And Sean Lang totally dropped it on the whole world during the press conference. But until I see like a press release that says this is happening for Josh Hart, and I just scoured. I went to the all new competitionplus.com, their brand new website. Bobby Bennett put a nice link to WFO Radio right in the middle. Thank you so much, Bobby. Competition Plus, 25 years. Didn't see it. Went to Drag Illustrated. Didn't see it. Saw that, Melanie Johnson drove in a fuel car. That's great. Didn't see Josh Hart, personnel news. And so I'm going to wait.
Josh Hart basically is sick and tired of Gage Herrera whooping up on the pro stock motorcycle guys, and he's about the right size, so he's going to sell all of his Top Fuel stuff and start a pro stock motorcycle team.
I'm starting to get the idea that you like spreading.
Is that what you heard too?
Didn't.
No, that's not what you heard.
No, but that sounds fun. I don't know, Josh. People don't know Josh is like this. I'm going to characterize it as like a very intense individual, like drummer, death metal, rah. And, but outside, his exterior is cool and calm and collected. And those are the guys you got to watch out for, right? I don't know. I think dude's making moves for 2025 that I think are going to put the team in a good situation. But hey, guys, it's not the biggest news in the history of NHRA, okay? It's just personnel stuff. But excited for Josh. And all kinds of stuff. But hey, let's get into Vegas, right? Vegas 2, starting off with our first 2 championship.
Hey, let's before we do that, let's just take a second and acknowledge yesterday. I mean, I know you're the son of a veteran. I'm a son of a veteran. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and I would like to just say, to all of the veterans out there, to everybody who's watching, whether you're a participant in the sport, whether you're a casual fan, whether you're whatever, just thank you. I mean, the country that we live in and the freedoms that we enjoy are because of you. And since yesterday was Veterans Day, I would like to officially tip a cap to all of the veterans out there. And again, I'm the son of an Air Force veteran. I am very passionate about people that volunteer to serve the country, and certainly appreciate each and every one of you and the sacrifices that you made.
I concur. Yes, this one honestly hit me very differently than all the previous, because this is the first Veterans Day without my father. And I know, the Marine Corps birthday is the day before Veterans Day every year. And it was always a big ramp up into this. We talked about it a lot on the Ignition show last night. And it's just, this is the first time I'm going to be going through any of this stuff without Pop. And it was and is very difficult. But to look at the positive, last year, having the actual event on Veterans Day and having the NHRA giveaway with vet ticks and all those folks, we were loaded with veterans, right? And there was that moment where Jack Beckman was introducing all the veterans, and they were all in these classic Chevrolets. And folks, you can go find this on NHRA.tv. This is one of the best things about NHRA.tv. When we reference a moment, if you have the wherewithal, you really want to see it, you can go back and find it. I believe it was Saturday, Alan. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm on the stage. I'm just kind of admiring the whole deal. Then Jack Beckman goes and gets into the final car, and someone comes up to me and says that there's one more veteran, and it's Ed Iskandarian, and he's 101 years old. And this guy's a World War II vet, and the crowd erupted. And my dad was watching at home, and it was like one of my greatest single moments being a part of the NHRA. And it was because of the veterans, a sport that's really here because of veterans. Don Garlitz told me, like, those guys were bored, man. They were dodging bullets over there, and regular life was no longer acceptable. Like, we're going to go pull a rake you can do trench on a farm. You can drive a tractor. You've been fighting Nazis. You've been fighting in the South Pacific. You've been dodging bullets. You're forever changed. You now have this new perspective and outlook, and racing cars and drag racing in particular all across the country was not a regional sport on the backs of, I don't know, with the support of veterans. I would say more so than any other sport. So yes, I concur. I agree. I love them, appreciate them. And I can't wait for the event to be back on Veterans Day again in the future.
Looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Where were we?
Who cares, right? Like, no, we're talking about Joe Sorensen, Colby Fuller have locked up the Stock and Super Comp World Championship. Colby is part of Team Foggett. Congratulations, Colby. Had a nice conversation with him in Vegas. He, Steve Williams, others, Ray were in the mix, but Colby got that job done in Super Comp and locked down the 890 index. That is a coveted world championship. Sean Langdon won 2, Jack Beckman, Gary Stinnett won 4. If you can win a Super Comp World Championship, it tells you something about the driver's ability, that they've got the talent to go beyond or elsewhere.
Well, one thing about the .90 categories, whether you're talking about Super Comp or Super Gas, and of course on the regional divisional level, Super Street, you have to, as a driver, be able to get the job done. You can't just outpower somebody. You can't just outrun somebody. You can't just, I've got the fastest car. Nobody can catch me. And so I think that's what makes it so difficult. And that's why it's such a wide open affair every year, because, the right guy gets hot at the right time, and man, look out, here you go. Right. We've seen it a few times over the years. There are the usual suspects that always seem to be around at the end of the year. Guys like Ray, guys like Jim Hughes, and certainly Stinnett. Year after year, it seems to be in the mix. But then there's a guy that just gets on a run, and you can't stop him. I mean, you look at a guy like Trevor Larkin last year, or
Larson.
Trevor Larson. Came out in the middle of the year and just got hot. And he had certainly had some success on the regional trail before. It's not like he had never seen a car, never got in a car, but he just went on this little unstoppable run. And it turned out that his unstoppable run was a little bit longer than Sherman Adcock's unstoppable run at the beginning of the year, when, in March, there was a lot of people that were saying, call the trophy guy and put Sherman's name on it. So that's what makes it interesting. And it's always fun to me, the guys that save races down to the end of the year. There are guys that will go out and run their full complement of point earning races, before Indy. And then the back half of the season, you just kind of hang on and see what happens. But for the guys that hang on to a couple of them at the end of the year and then go, okay, then you can sit down and look and do the math, right? If I make the semis here and I make the final there, then I'm right in the middle of the mix. And in April or in May, you legitimately don't know what the ultimate target is. You might put up 680 and it's enough. You might put up 680 and be sixth. But at the end of the year, you ultimately know what the target is, and then it's just a matter of whether or not you can achieve it. And I don't know that in this category particularly, as I said, everybody has got the equipment to run a number. Everybody has got the equipment to read the weather, to read. And so it's a matter of whether or not you can execute even after you know what the goal is.
Yeah. It's, and that little brief experience I had at the start of the season at Speed World in Orlando, and then again at Texas Motorplex running some divisional races, like going through the process with Bo and Randy Lynn. And I hear Bo got to the final round in stock eliminator. That's pretty cool. And Parker Theobald picking up the win in the regional race. Way to go, Parker. Checks out WFO Ignition from time to time. Factored into the championship, taking down Jimmy Hidalgo. But the methodology, it's not easy, folks. This is tough stuff. Keeping track of the weather, keeping track of the track, keeping track of the competition, knowing what they do. Like, you got all these dragsters, they all look pretty much the same. It's not like you remember the black Camaro. No, they're all, you got to know what your opponent does, how he plays it, how he does it, what his style is, how fast he might be coming up on you or vice versa. There's so much that goes into the .90 categories. I work, and I know you do too, Alan, for many years. So hard to push against the lack of understanding for all of those categories by like a casual observer. Like, there's so much to this, guys. You got to dig a little deeper below the surface.
Agreed. And, I know a lot of casual fans think that because the cars slow down off the starting line and it's not all out performance, that it just doesn't resonate with them. But the ability to win regularly at that class, it requires a very high knowledge level and a very high skill level. And sometimes just making the split-second decisions, or sometimes you're coming down to the finish line going, this doesn't feel right, or this should be playing out differently. And you've got to decide, hey, my strategy that I absolutely positively a tenth of a second ago was locked into, and I'm taking this. No, we're going this way instead. And being able to make those split-second decisions is what makes it so difficult to do.
Yeah, think fast, right? You got to think fast. And if Jack Beckman can think fast enough to make those decisions at 170 miles an hour, you trains your brain to think very fast. And he proved he can drive a nitro funny car. Speaking of which, we got to talk Vegas, right? We got a double sample here because we did not have a show last week because of the SEMA show. I was in Vegas. I know you were taking care of business out there as well. And it's kind of when you combine the two shows. So we'll just go quicker. But stock eliminator. Let's have that conversation we had right before the start, because you and I are like moved. Randy Lynn comes to me in Texas and is like, Jimmy Hidalgo, Joe Sorensen, they got to run each other third round for the points lead. Hidalgo wins it. Sorensen, clearly he got mad because he goes out there in Vegas, wins, and locks up the championship by 1 point. They're both over 700.
Well,
tell the tale. That's amazing.
Well, 1 point for now.
Yeah.
Joe Sorensen still has Pomona. If Cooter had passed him, it wouldn't be over yet, because Joe Sorensen still has room to improve when he gets to Pomona. But Jimmy Hidalgo going to be the first guy in history to put up 700 points and not win the championship. There's never been somebody total 700 points that didn't win the championship. But as of right now, he's got 711. Sorensen has got 712. And Joe Sorensen is not a rookie. The guy's been around the game a long time. He's won a couple of division championships. He's won, the fact that he doesn't travel and doesn't chase a lot of national events is why that he's never really been a part of the national points scene. Not because he can't drive the car, not because he doesn't have the ability. He just is a guy that doesn't travel very much. You got to think about the fact, I live in Arizona. Okay. Pomona is 450 miles away. 2 national events. Phoenix, 100 miles away, national event. Vegas, 450. I got 5 national events, and I haven't driven 500 miles from my home. Joe Sorensen lives in Division 6. He's got Seattle, and his next closest national event is like 600 miles away. And his next one after that is probably 1,200 miles away. So the fact that he hasn't been a part of the national conversation isn't because he doesn't have the ability. It's because he doesn't travel. Now, whether that's a personal decision or a business decision, I couldn't tell you that. But there are a number of racers that race at a very high level that a lot of people just don't know about simply because they don't travel. It used to be, I remember Bob Fry talking to a guy one time, and this goes back 100 years. He was at Yellowstone, I think, Saturday bracket race. And the guy's, I towed 600 miles to be here. Bob says, 600 miles for a Saturday bracket race? Why? It's my home track. Well, when you live in Montana, you don't have all those. Bob lives in New Jersey. In 600 miles, he can get every single Division I track, a couple in Division III and a couple in Division II. But when you live, especially in the northeastern part of the country or northwestern part of the country, it takes a much bigger commitment to go out there and chase those points. And the fact that, Joe had a pretty good start to the season and decided, what, let's take a crack at this. And it's going to pay off with the national championship. I think it's a great story. I think it's a terrific story. And I'm really looking forward to telling it at the banquet, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, very exciting for Joe, and a great battle. And that's why we have this wealth of blessings in every category. There's interesting people, and Joe is one of them, and that was amazing. All right, so it's occurring to me how much we have to talk about, and we've got Aaron Stanfield and Dallas Glenn that I was able to catch up with, do interviews with, pre-recorded guys, sorry, but you haven't heard them yet, so they're interesting, and you'll love it. Alan's got to go out the door because he's got something cool going too, so we're going to accelerate. As far as the rest of the Lucas Oil Series competition, the folks at NHRA.com have done a fantastic job of setting the table of who's got to do what, when, for the remainder of the season in super stock and super gas, the drivers that are in contention, top sportsman, top dragster, all there. I will encourage you, comp eliminator, 4 drivers wide open. Roger Brogdon, great shot. It tells you exactly where and what and how. And so I want to drive everybody who's really interested in knowing the who, what, when, where, why. As you can see, I printed it out. I got a hard copy to study on the plane, committed all to the memory. But is there anything you want to throw out there? Any highlights you want to touch on? Any Alan Reinhart? Watch out for this before we go back and recap the Ford Performance NHRA Nationals from Vegas and look ahead to the In-N-Out Burger Finals.
Well, you mentioned comp, and I think comp's a good one. Cody Lane and Roger Brogdon raced in the final last weekend at the regional. Winner take the point lead to Pomona. Roger ended up going red, or he could be going into the Pomona as the point leader with everybody else chasing him. So as you mentioned, that one certainly wide open. There are a few others. Ryan McClanahan, solid run out in Vegas, which now, 3 weeks ago, most people probably would have told you that Jimmy Hidalgo had the super stock championship all but locked, right? Call Carducci and just start making plans. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute. Because Ryan, who is a former world champion, got hot, and he's also the reigning division champion, and now he goes into Pomona on a hot streak at his home racetrack with a legitimate shot. So that one's not over yet. The top dragster is kind of a wait and see, because there are a couple of guys that are within striking distance, but I'm not sure that they're coming. Both of them, I do believe, by my and I didn't print out the NHRA stuff, but looking at the stuff last week when we finished up the race in Vegas, it's like, okay, Mark Graham and the title, he would have to win Pomona. I mean, win the entire event. I don't know if he's coming or not. I believe Darian Bosch is also mathematically alive, but the same thing, he would have to come in and win the event, and I don't know whether or not he's coming. So that one may be determined just as soon as the entry list is locked down, which I guess by now it is, so I could go look. But there's still a few things up for grabs. So we're going to have plenty to talk about in Pomona. Funny car is over, and top alcohol funny car is over, and pro stock motorcycle is over, and everything else I think we've got plenty to talk about.
Exactly.
Actually, Sean Cowie has locked his. Yes, that one's over too. Finally. Good. Congratulations to Sean.
Right. He's got it. Well,
actually, technically, I should say that's not over yet. Sean needs to win the first round to lock it. If Sean does not win the first round, Jackie needs to win the race to win the championship. Jackie, John, I love you guys, but if you think Sean Cowie is not going to win the first round, that's he doesn't lose first round very often. Let's just put it that way.
Stuff can happen, but yeah, that's why we always have this conversation, right? We always have this conversation because it's drag racing, because it's very unlikely. Congratulations to Jackie and Sean, by the way, becoming husband-wife Division I champions. He in Super Street and she in Top Alcohol Dragster Eastern Region. But they got to give it a ride, right? They got to give it a ride. Plenty to talk about.
How crazy is it? How crazy is it that Angela was alive for the championship? If she had run the Vegas race, and they opted not to, I know that their sponsorship is based on this, and it's pretty well structured. But if Angel had gone to the Vegas race and done well, she would still be alive for the championship.
Incredible. No, what a year it has been. How did Melanie Johnson do? I mean, she's an athlete. People don't know Alan's daughter.
Yeah,
she's an athlete. She did javelin, right? At like extremely high collegiate levels. And so she's got an athlete's mentality. And there's so many former athletes that get into race cars and realize, oh my gosh, I could do this for the next 30 years and find a home. I'm hoping that's what happens with Melanie.
Well, we'll see what happens. She qualified, which was quite a feat in itself. The bump spot, I believe, was 5:31. 15 very good quality cars for an 8-car field. And then she hazed the tires in round 1. So she didn't have a long run in eliminations, but her first event out there, she qualified. It was kind of cool to see her mom and dad both there. Alan Johnson kind of paying attention to the alcohol ranks again. And it's why I told the story, and I got a couple of emails about it from, fans. If you're a let's say 25-year fan of NHRA, you might not realize that Alan Johnson drove. Alan Johnson drove in the alcohol dragster ranks, and then he put his brother behind the wheel, and that ended up being, Blaine was very good driving, obviously. Alan was better tuning when he wasn't distracted by driving, and that ended up, but the fact that Alan used to drive and that he was out there now watching his daughter drive was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is great. That is great for Alan. And Melanie works behind the scenes. She does a lot of work, social media, or did a lot of work with social media and various, whatever it takes. So great to see her driving a car. Spent a little time in Super Comp and driving a car, a fuel. Good stuff. All right. It's going to be great. I'm super excited. But let's go back and spend a little time in Vegas. And I want to start out with, what I call the coronation of Austin Prock. But what I want to start out with is, I want to talk Paul Lee, but I want to know about these gears, Alan. What do you know? What do you think you know? I don't know anything. I've had many quizzical conversations with people who really know their stuff over the past couple of weeks. Like, this is the first time I remember a race getting kicked to the next day because we had an oil spillage on the racetrack that was just such a big deal. We know gear oil is tough, but what's happening is surprising, and people are scratching their heads. And a part that would last, 40 runs. Now some guys they're lasting 2 runs. To me, and my common sense, know nothing attitude says like something's up. What do you think?
I honestly don't know. And I spoke to Alan Johnson about that last weekend, because I said he was out there watching his daughter, and he came up in the tower and we had a couple of minutes to chit chat. He said the failure on Doug's car was not the same, not related to the failure that we saw on Steve's car earlier in the weekend, and we've seen a couple of times before that. He basically said what his was a part failure, and he said they have a part that has a cycle life, and whatever the number is, right? It has a cycle life of 50, and it was on run 45, and it failed. And he said, what we do now is we will go back and say, okay, do we need to change that cycle life to 30 or 35 or whatever so that this doesn't happen again? But he said it's the first time that particular part had ever failed before its life cycle. He said after looking at what they had seen, they went back and inspected all of their differentials and all their stuff, and they do not see any problem whatsoever. So he is obviously not sure either. Now, he's not involved with the manufacturing of those parts. So, whether there's an issue there, whether that, I don't know. But I found it very interesting when I talked to him, because, we saw a failure on Saturday, it was differential failure, and a differential failure again on Sunday. And I'm just like you, I'm going, okay, something's going on here, right? We haven't failed one of those in the last 2 years, and we failed 2 of them in 2 days. But Alan said that his failure was completely unique to what the Billy Torrence failure was, and that he said they have inspected all of their stuff and don't believe, at least in their camp, that there's any cause for concern whatsoever. As far as the rest of it, he couldn't comment on that because obviously he's not inside anybody else's trailer.
Well, exactly. And, not attempting to throw anybody under the bus, and both the teams that are involved are high budget teams that are known for short cycle lives so that they help out other teams. It was just a, it was a bummer, man. to send everybody home. And we hope that that never happens again. Obviously, apologies to everybody out there. But those who did come back, and there were a lot of them, the Monday Nationals, there were a lot of fans in the stands. And so let's pick up with Funny Car, because I want to talk about Paul Lee. Wow. What a weekend Paul Lee had. You know, Paul's a friend of the show, and I've known Paul for a long time, as you have. And to watch Paul continue to evolve to this point, came up a little short in the final round against Austin Prock. He's not the only one. Austin Prock having a career year, one of the greatest single seasons in funny car racing history, run it up to Austin twice now. But to have the weekend that Paul Lee had, gotta be his best as a pro by far. That was pretty amazing to see what they did.
He was very excited about it. I actually had dinner with him during the week between the national and the regional. He obviously stayed out for SEMA because of his companies that were there. And yeah, he talked pretty extensively about that. They're pretty happy with where the car is right now, with where, you know, everybody on the team that, you know, working together, and the morale is high and the car is running well. And you know, we've seen it over the years, Joe. The guys that are having fun tend to be the guys that are winning races. Now, you could do the chicken and the egg, right? Well, of course, they're having fun. They're winning all the races. But that stuff really feeds on itself. If you've got good camaraderie in the trailer and you've got good camaraderie in the pits, then your car's going to run better. And if your car's going to run better, then you're going to continue to have good camaraderie. So Paul is, you know, really looking forward to. He's one of those guys that wishes the season was, you know, can we have 4 more races, please? Because the way he's running right now and the way things are going right now, he certainly would like to continue that role. He's a little bummed that he didn't qualify for the countdown to the championship, because he certainly would be standing center stage. He wouldn't be, you know, the guy all the way over there on the edge about to fall off. If he had been in the countdown, he would be he'd be a whole lot closer to the middle.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things. But one more race to go, trying to get the first win, and that will be a major milestone. And oh, by the way, that kind of stuff happens at the In-N-Out Burger Finals. But Austin Prock wins the race, right? The John Force double. John's back at the track. Brittany wins. John wins. John's there. The moment about John. Thank you to all fans that I noticed, racers, people on the starting line. Looked like John had plenty of space to just be himself and enjoy. I thought everyone behaved so well. Thank goodness. You can't write that. Can't write it up. The John Force movie. He comes back and he, you know, he's standing on the starting line as team owner, and the teams both win. His daughter wins. Had a great interview with Brittany from SEMA. Hopefully guys will go out there and watch it and share it. It's doing pretty well. 50,000 views. Thank you. But her attitude, the energy, the positivity, Austin, you know, fighting back tears to be able to deliver that kind of moment for John, for that to actually have happened mathematically. It's so unlikely that the 2 team cars would double up. Brittany would get her first win in 2 years. She said she was waiting for Vegas at John's return race, and yet it happened.
Well, it certainly wasn't too much of a surprise for Austin to win, because that's pretty much all he's done this year, right? I mean, 9 so far, and we're not finished yet. The Brittany win, though, was certainly unexpected, I think, on a lot of fronts. I had spoken to David Grubnick earlier in the weekend. After, you know, qualifying, the car ran pretty well. And I asked him, you know, have you finally? And he said, I'm tired of running around with my tail between my legs. He said, we had some issues and I got a little gun shy. And I finally decided, you know what? When the car was running well, when we were winning, I was sitting here going, that's my plan. Let's go, right? Damn the torpedoes. And he said, I got to the point where I'm sitting here going, well, gee, I don't know. And he said, there's 2 races left in the season. It's time to quit being a sissy. Not exactly a quote, but you get the idea. He said, I need to go back to being aggressive, getting after it, and obviously the car responded and they got the result they wanted. So I'm sure that he wishes that he'd have done that 5 races ago or 8 races ago, but I will not be the least bit surprised if they come into Pomona with that same attitude and that same, you know, damn the torpedoes approach in qualifying. And, you know, it's 1 race left. They're not going to win the championship. Could they spoil it? Maybe. You know, could they win the race? Absolutely. And that's all they care about, right? They don't care a lick who wins the championship. It ain't them. Who cares? But they could get that last trophy. And we've talked about it. You and I have been doing this long enough, Joe, and I think most of the fans out there probably realize the same thing. The winter break, it's long and it's short. But if you win the last race of the year, then you go into the winter break with a little bit more of an upbeat attitude. Everybody's looking a little bit more forward to, getting to the shop, getting to work, getting to go back and start the season again next year. And that really, if you're having a tough season, it can really save it. And if you're trying to build a little momentum for next year, if Brittany could go out and win Pomona, that team now is going to go back to Indy, and they're going to start getting prepared, thinking to themselves, we've got another championship to win, right? We've got our race car back, we got our swagger back, and that will be a big, big mental plus when they go back during the winter break and get to work.
Yeah. John Collins, no dummy. Guy's been there, been around a lot. Grubnick, obviously, genius. Brittany, what I saw in Brittany, and I want to apologize, guys. Like, we put that directly on YouTube at SEMA, and it's doing very well. But if you're like an audio-only podcast viewer and you're wondering, like, I didn't get that in my feed. No, it went straight on YouTube. Just go to YouTube. If you still use the WFO app, which we can no longer update, but it's still alive, by the way. It's like one of those, programs in the Matrix that is just like going and going. You can check it out on the YouTube feed. But her attitude, to me, has changed. And it's almost as if she realized that if John Force Racing is going to continue, that she needs to have a leadership role. And I know I'm putting a lot of words in her mouth, and I didn't ask her about that specifically, but with what happened, it makes sense that she would have considered what it would be like if her dad couldn't be there anymore. Something she had probably never considered previously as a driver. Just amazing to hear how different she was in that interview. I encourage everybody to go see it. It's going to be great. Going to the finals, their home race, see if they can do it again. Dig down on Austin Prock, the number one qualifier deal, the race wins deal, and nearly an unprecedented season, certainly in the modern era. The Big Four became the Big One in 2024.
Yeah. That car's been, whether it's qualifying, whether it's race day, it's still, I marvel at the fact that since Brainerd, 2 times on Sunday, the win light hasn't come on. And both times you can point your finger pretty directly at a mechanical issue, right? It's like, this broke. This is why we didn't win. We could fix that. And that's so much better than when you're standing on the starting line going, wonder why it did that. And that's the thing that drives crew chiefs bananas if you can't figure it out. When I'm in my shop, my whiteboard has across the top of it says, it's the phrase, it's never nothing. And that was Austin Coyle's mantra for years and years and years. Every time the car did something, he wanted to know why. And, it was nothing. And he said, it's never nothing. There's a reason it did what it did. And the reason that he won so many races and so many championships is because he was absolutely lunatic about finding out why, so he could either prevent it or repeat. And the thing that would drive him crazy, and this is obviously, different time, different era, different numbers, but if the car was supposed to run, let's say the car was supposed to run 490 and it went 487, drove him crazy if he couldn't figure out why. Because if he couldn't figure out why, then he couldn't do it again on purpose when he needed to. And he would literally tear the car down to the bare frame, go through every little piece of information and analysis, trying to figure out why did it run faster than it was supposed to. And if he could figure it out, then the next time he saw those conditions, then he could go out there and go, okay, now we're going to run 420 or 487, and we're going to do it on purpose. So it's those things that make the difference. You've got to be able to understand why. And right now, it really looks like the Prock team understands everything that's going on with that race car. It never, I can't remember the last time that it surprised them on either side. They come up there and they go, this is what we're trying to run. That's what it runs. And they're not making any mistakes. And obviously the scoreboard shows, the results show.
Yeah, it's amazing. And some good news for that team and good news for the sport as well happened at the SEMA show in the NHRA booth. You can go back and check it out. But this was one of my big gauges, right? Like, we're all trying to figure out how healthy the sport is. And if Austin Prock can't lock down a long-term sponsor and solidify his driving career after doing what he's done, then there's a problem. Then I need to go work at the lumberyard with Danny Noonan or get a job with the mayor here in Pembroke Pines. I need to do something else because drag racing is not healthy if Austin Prock can't secure and he did. Cornwell Tools 3-year deal, locked him down. This is the team announced at SEMA. Super exciting that John Force Racing was able to Cornwell coming on, U.S. national sponsor. Those guys are going in deep into drag racing. Tools, baby, tools. We got all the tool companies because they know that the drag racers are doers and builders and makers, and we're not going to let somebody else do it. We're going to do it ourselves. They've identified that about the drag racing fans, and they've got a driver in Austin for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and I think that's a great deal. And, locking him down certainly makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of internet chatter about, well, what does that mean for Robert Hight if Robert Hight comes back? Well, with the jury still out on John, and he told me word for word when he came into the booth on Saturday and asked if he could address the fans. And I said, absolutely. He said, I'm going to be a spectator for a while. So if Robert comes back, does that mean Robert goes in the Pete car? I don't know. I think all of that is still up in the air. But if I'm Cornwell Tools, as much as I love Robert, I want Austin. I want the number one on the side of my car. Because hypothetically speaking, right, and this isn't going to happen, but just hypothetically speaking, if Robert was to come back and he was going to get back in his old car and they were just going to move Austin over to the Pete car, okay, well, now which car has the number one on it next year? Not the Cornwell Tools car. And so if you're Cornwell, I think that's important, right? I want this to be my driver. I want this to be my team. I want every part of my advertising to show that the World Championship funny car says Cornwell Tools on the side of it. And I think that that's an important part of the negotiation when they put it together. Now, what does that mean when Robert comes back? Or we'll find out. But I can certainly understand the logic behind Cornwell wanting to do that. John also mentioned to me and announced to the fans that Peak had extended their support of JFR. And what that's going to look like going forward, again, nobody knows. Nobody knows, at least nobody I know knows. It sounded from what John said, going to be a spectator for a while. I don't think he's planning on coming back next year. I have no idea with Robert. My last communication with Robert was when I sent him a text message after the Dodgers won the World Series and said, hey, man, congrats. I'll buy you a beer next time I see you. And he said, thanks. Looking forward to that. By the way, Joe, I don't know if you heard the Dodgers won the World Series.
Whatever.
And
old news, man.
As far as Jack, who knows? I think he has done a terrific job filling in, not just driving the car, but taking care of the fans and working with the sponsors and doing, all of the other things that he's required to do while still holding a job in the real world. Does that position become more permanent, or does his part-time status get extended another year? I don't know that either. There are a lot of unanswered questions over there, but knowing that you have the financial wherewithal and that those two cars are in good shape, that takes a whole lot of load off your shoulders. Haven't heard any official announcements on Brittany's car as of yet, but I'm expecting that to happen in the not too distant future.
No, very exciting times. And, it's not like people on sports talk radio love to play fantasy general manager. It's very difficult in this situation because we're talking about, people with health issues, right? Situations that we don't know all the details. I'm hoping, I'm hoping we get to see Robert this weekend. I don't know if that's going to happen or not going to happen. I don't know. But, I want to see Robert Hight and he can say whatever he wants about the New York Yankees to me, as long as I get to see him. That will be wonderful stuff, although it will hurt on the inside. But it will be a good thing. Gage Herrera, of course, has pretty much locked it down. What an amazing run it has been for Gage. Good job by Angie Smith getting to the final round. But this has been another season of Gage, and he has gotten so comfortable in his skin in the NHRA. What can you say? Another season of dominance. But I really think that the pro stock motorcycle category needs a little help.
Well, yes, I agree with that. And I don't have, the magic answer. But I would the class is so much more fun when there are 6, 7, 8 bikes out there battling for the win every week, instead of realistically right now 2. And I know for a fact that Terry Vance is thinking about that as well, because he and I have communicated about that. It's like, something needs to be done. Terry Vance, the racer, wants to win every race, but Terry Vance, the businessman, understands it's not good for the class. It's not good to win every race. So there needs to be a higher level of competition out there, and what that's going to look like, I'm just not sure. But I think that there's going to be, certainly plenty of discussion during the winter break, and I also think it's a little bit different when you look at an Austin Prock thing, right? There's a lot of people who say, well, Austin Prock won every race, and how come nobody's complaining about that? Well, Austin Prock has the same parts, the same pieces, the same that everybody else has in pro stock. And what was happening in pro stock car for so long? There were a couple of guys that were building engines that were running roughshod over the rest of the field. And the rest of the field got to the point where they're like, you know what, if I don't have a chance to win, that's not the case in the nitro cars, because you and I can go buy every single thing that's on Robert Height's car or on Austin Prock's car. Now, can we make it run like that? Probably not. But we're not going to get outrun because, well, we don't have the same camshaft, or we don't have the same cylinder heads, or we don't have the same, which was the case in pro stock. When the pro stock owners came together, the two biggies, right, KB and Elite, and said, we need to save the class. And now I think pro stock is a riot. I love watching pro stock. They talk about, the two big teams against each other, and certainly Southwest Performance has got their engines out there that are button heads. Frank Iaconio's making some good horsepower. But now we look at the ladder, and it's been the big four for most of the year, but it hasn't been the big two. And there have been, like the Quadra boys that step up and surprise now and then, and are going rounds and making the level of competition is there. And they need to figure out what it's going to take in pro stock motorcycle so that we have 18 or 20 showing up every week. And so that we have, 6 or 8 legitimate, because, yes, Austin Prock has won more races this year than anybody else. But is anybody surprised if Matt Hagan wins? No. Will anybody be surprised when Dan Wilkerson wins? No. Bob Tasca? Not a surprise. Are we surprised that Ron Capps hasn't won? Yeah. There are drivers and cars out there that have a performance level that they have the legitimate ability to go out and win a race or a couple of races. And right now, in stock motorcycles, there's Gage, and then there's Matt, who's a step behind or a half a step behind, and then there's everybody else. And we need to find a way, my personal feeling, need to find a way to get more consistent racers and winners in the category. And the category just doesn't look healthy when 13 bikes or 14 bikes show up from time to time.
And that's the issue. Like, a lot of people have just said, we can't deal with that. Like, what's the point? Traveling, gas, hotels, work, hard work to just get served and see you later. So we'll see how it all works out. But then again, Gage is a generational talent. You think about the Jeff Gordons and the Michael Schumachers. You can't punish him. But the generational talent is also on the team that has the most resources, that's got the richest history, that's got it's a tough deal. But Gage should not be penalized for that. And by the way, Matt Smith is awesome. Put up a fight. Derek in the chat says, if it wasn't for the transmission issues, it could have gone the other way. Matt was giving it a ride, and then right at the end, it kind of slipped away. But Gage has been the class of the field all year long. All right, let's talk pro stock, and then a couple of final thoughts, and we'll let you get on out of here. I do have a question for you before we let you go. But so we got Aaron, and we got Dallas. But Greg Anderson, to me, he is within 2 rounds of racing at 1.5 points at the final. So if, Dallas and Aaron were to lose in the semis, which is a reasonable possibility, and Greg Anderson wins the race, Greg Anderson could be the champ, not having gained any qualifying points that would change that reality. So this is a genuine 3-horse race where GA is in the middle of it. We will not hear from Greg. We'll hear from the other 2. But as you look at it, knowing that Aaron Stanfield's got some good news going on. His dad is coming back to pro stock next year. That was a big announcement. He's going to talk about that on the show. What do you see this happening here in the finals?
The key is to qualify 4th. That's the key. Do not, under any circumstances, qualify number 1. I don't care if everybody in the class is shutting off at 1,000 feet. And you go, oh, look, number 1 qualifier. 8:15. 142 miles an hour. The number one qualifier has been the curse of death. And if I'm any of those, do you want the qualifying points? Yeah, especially if it could, if you're close enough to the threshold that it can make a difference for you. But the number one qualifying spot has not been the place to be. And if I'm out there, I really believe it'll be either Aaron or Dallas. Is Greg still in the mix? Yes, but when's the last time there was a final that didn't have Aaron or Dallas in it? There have been a lot of them that had both. Anyway, it just I don't see both of those guys falling short. What I would love to see is those two guys race each other in the semifinals. That's what I would love to see, and then see what happens in the final round.
Right. Or if we're making it happen, for it to fall within one round of racing and qualifying, and then they could run each other in the finals, and we could have another winner take all with two of our young gun potential superstars, hardworking drivers that don't, fly to the races, that actually get their hands dirty and are got calluses and blood and all of that stuff, to totally destroy the dynamic that some have created. The ones that want to go back to Warren Johnson and Bob Glidden. We're back to that, guys. We're back to that. Dallas drives the truck, for gosh sakes. Super exciting, Alan. Super exciting. All right, so I just got an email. You want to hear it? Here's
Sure.
the email. It's entitled 2024 NHRA Rookie of the Year Voting. Dear NHRA media member, we would like to invite you to vote for this year's Rookie of the Year. The 2024 candidates include Brandon Foster, Brandon's out, Richard Gadsden, Derek Reese, Jasmine Salinas, Tony Stewart, Sienna Wildgus, Daniel Wilkerson, and Ida Zetterstrom. You can vote at this link, which I will be doing. I am bringing it on the air. What does everybody think about Rookie of the Year? I am under no obligation to vote what you guys think, but I'd like to see what you think. Alan, I hear a lot of people talking about Richard Gadsden. Obviously, it's between Richard Gadsden, Jasmine Salinas, Tony Stewart, Daniel Wilkerson. Ida came in. She's doing so well, but she came in so late. It's just not a big enough sample size. Same is true for Sienna and Derek. Brandon is stepped away. So Jasmine, Tony, Daniel, Richard Gadsden. You got a guy on a motorcycle.
You just got that?
Just now.
Really? Okay.
Or maybe it was a reset.
I voted last week.
Yeah. Okay. You going to share?
Maybe I got lost in the cybersphere or something, but
that's probably what happened. It just came in. It's the top of my email, but I'm noticing it is post-dated email. See, just like the post office, sometimes it gets lost in the translation. But I think it's kind of an interesting conversation for people to be having. And I heard what you said, that you wanted to wait to see if someone won, but you also just told us that you voted.
Well, you have to vote before the end of Pomona.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to vote right now. As soon as the show is over, I'm going to send my vote.
I waited until after Vegas because, on track performance is a part of the criteria, but there is also, the non-track performance, the interactions with the fans, the autograph sessions, the fan fest, the this, the that, the things that you do off of the racetrack itself, to promote yourself, to promote NHRA, to promote. And so that comes into play as well. And I had a couple of three that I had close enough in my particular, in Alan's little fantasy world, the way I break it down, I make the on-track performance about 60%. Okay. I mean, if I'm going out every day and, putting my name on billboards and giving away tickets and, visiting to promote NHRA, I should get credit for that. But if you won 5 races and I didn't, then I would still think that you would be the Rookie of the Year, because I think on-track performance should carry that kind of weight. And so I waited until after Vegas, thinking if one of my 3 won the event, that might sway my vote a little bit, because the on-track performance is, in my mind, a bigger part of it. Since that didn't happen, then I went and sat down and, I got out my spreadsheets and I put things up on the wall and I wrote notes on the window, and I had this algorithm and I went through all this stuff, and it came down to like about 1/10 of a point, but I cast my vote.
You cast your vote. Okay. There it is, folks. There it is. We'll talk about this a little bit later on in the show, and maybe I will reveal how I am voting. Final thought, Alan, before we head to Pomona for the In-N-Out Burger Finals. I'm definitely going to have a double-double. Someone mentioned the nitro-style burger earlier. Remember that? We got to bring that back going. The In-N-Out nitro-style cheeseburger. What was on the nitro-style cheeseburger? I know we had totally faxed the whole thing out. It's just, my memory. What was it?
I think it had like some jalapenos and some other stuff that I'm afraid of, basically. So I was not one to try that. And I don't remember if that was something that was on the regular menu or if that was something that was only available at the racetrack, because the In-N-Out, they will have 4 or 5 burger stands at the racetrack like they always do.
Yeah, I don't think it actually exists. And I think we're going to send a bunch of people up there ordering nitro style until they decide to acquiesce and actually create it. We'll see. Yeah, I'll have it nitro style, get a screaming Viking when you can. All right, Alan, great job. Have fun. I know you're going to do something pretty cool.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you at the track and getting it on, man. This is it. The finals, the In-N-Out Burger Finals. Will we have a winner take all final round? Who knows?
I hope so. Travel safe. I'll see you in a couple days.
Thank you very much. There goes the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. I figured he might tell us. He did not tell us. I might tell you. I might not. It is a secret ballot, right? Secret ballot. And yeah, no, it looks like I got that email a month ago, except it's just popping up now in HRA Communications. Like, why? Reminder? Oh, it's a reminder because they know that I didn't vote, but I will vote. And it's interesting. All right, let's see what you guys have to say before we get to our interviews. Fans of Pro Stock, non-fans of Pro Stock, the future of the sport and of the category, these two young men that you're about to hear from, they've been on the show many times, and honestly, they're both friends of the show. And I think they're friends of each other. And they are, in my opinion, what is great about NHRA drag racing. And so is Austin Prock and Brittany Force, et cetera. It's just that the nitro cars are a little different, like from another universe, right? Like a spaceship from another planet, Rick and Morty. Whereas Pro Stock, if you're a bracket guy and you run in the Sportsman Eliminator at the Summit ET Finals, you might think, Dallas Glenn is like me, or Aaron Stanfield is like me. And he just kept at it. These two are going to be battling it out with one another. We're going to talk a little Play NHRA, but they are pre-recorded interviews, but you've never seen them. I did that on purpose because I know everybody is really scrambling to get to Pomona and working on finding horsepower and, all of that. I wanted to lock it in for this show. When we come back, we'll talk a little more Rookie of the Year. And I'm going to give you all a sneak preview of Project Pontiac. That is right. I have just been sent a couple of photographs that have not been made public of Project Pontiac, which will be dyno tested the 30th of this month in Emporia, Kansas, at Stanfield Automotive, birthplace of Foggett. We are going to dyno test the Project Pontiac engine. Yes, we've got goals, but really a nice, reliable engine that can stay out there on the tour for a while. I've had unprecedented interest, as in more interest in anything that I've ever done, thus unprecedented, in the Project Pontiac engine. We're going to go Super Street Racing. The NHRA divisional schedule is out. Orlando Speed World, the Baby Gators, and the Gator Nationals are 3 consecutive weeks to start the season on the East Coast. And we're going to try very hard to be at the Speed World Dragway in Orlando. Some of our WFO listeners are already making plans to fly into the Baby Gators to watch Project Pontiac race. They revealed that on our Ignition podcast last night. That is creating anxiety and stress for me. We haven't really shared a lot. I posted the origin video, me as a 19-year-old bracket racing at Moroso Motorsports Park the other day. It's up on YouTube under the playlist Project Pontiac, but there is going to be more to come, including the dyno test and some history and background on the deal. Super Street Racing. Why did we decide to go Super Street Racing? Well, because it's a very heavy car. It's a steel car. We want to keep it a steel car. We want to keep it what it is. You can't be running up against 2,150 pound cars in super gas with a 3,200 pound car. And we do not have the budget to go heads up racing. That's crazy. Not going to do that. I always like the idea of top end driving. That's what I'm going to do. And for those that are interested, you're going to want to follow it along. So like that playlist, subscribe on YouTube. And I'm just going to share a couple of photos I think are pretty cool after these interviews. Fans of Pro Stock, these are two of the potential champions. The other is Greg Anderson. He's won it 5 times. Follow these drivers, listen to what they have to say, and pick one or the other to root for this weekend. Here's Aaron Stanfield.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody, WFO Radio. We're going to keep on going. We've got our Pro Stock winner at the Ford Performance NHRA Nationals in Vegas, who goes into the In-N-Out Burger Finals at In-N-Out Burger Pomona Dragstrip. You know, I like to get those sponsors right. I like to get the sponsors right, man. You got to say the names. It's In-N-Out Burger, baby. I'm going to have me like 6 double-doubles. It's going to be great. I overate in Vegas as well. But this guy got the job done in Pro Stock, took over the points lead in dramatic fashion, and he joins us now, Aaron Stanfield. What's up, Aaron? How are you?
What's up, Joe? Thanks for having me on.
I bet you did not overeat in Vegas. I bet you stuck right to the fitness regimen, kept going fast. You're trying to win a championship.
Yeah, stuck to it, but I got to say, I definitely had a few In-N-Out burgers while I was there, and I'm looking forward to a few more when we get to Pomona.
It's the best to be able to have In-N-Out at the track. Lindsay, the family, the hot rod culture, the shirts, the gear, the swag. No better sponsor, no better place to end our season. All right, let's talk Vegas, right? It going in, you were behind, coming out, you're in the lead. A tremendous swing in your direction at Vegas.
Yes, definitely. We had some luck roll our way. I mean, coming out of Dallas, we had a little bit of misfortune when I shifted into second gear, and that's kind of what costed the run. Just kind of chalked up just to bad luck. But yeah, it turned around and it went our way in Las Vegas with Christian taking out Dallas first round. That was the big round. That's the big break that we needed, and we were able to capitalize on it. So it just shows you just how well all of our guys work together, and they made all the right decisions on my car. And you got to have luck to win these things, and sometimes you just got to have it roll your way, and it did.
It did. Luck is a big part of it when the field is so close. The field is so close. Like Dallas, when we talk to him, he's going to be like, I had some bad luck, a couple of thou here, a couple of thou there, didn't go our way. But in the end, you were able to deliver. Tell me a little bit about, through the rounds, now that Dallas is out, right? Like the pressure has to be magnified, has to be amplified when he's on the sidelines. It's not like a NASCAR race where he's 20th and then he could be 15th and then he could be 5th and then he could be 30th. In drag racing, when the opponent is out, they're not coming back and you've got to make up ground. Yeah,
definitely. The pressure was already on. So, typical race day nerves. I mean, I always get them, and I say most people that say they don't, they're probably lying a little bit. But anyways, first round we made a nice lap, and I missed the tree a little bit, and we recovered well from there. But yeah, I mean, anytime you can be in this position, it's the pressure's on, but pressure's a privilege, and I'm not afraid of it. And I think I've done well in the past under. I think we did well under it this weekend.
And so you make it to the final round. Who awaits Greg Anderson? He is, a couple of weeks ago when Greg beat Dallas, I admired that because as a drag racer, he never gave up on his own hopes. He didn't say to himself like, well, if I lose here, our team will win and that'll push Dallas so far out there. And instead he took out Dallas, and this guy, in my opinion, is still gunning for the championship. We'll talk points. He's only 56 out of the lead, but you had to beat him. Otherwise, there would have been 3 drivers within a round going into the final race, which would have been very exciting. But tell me about setting up for that final round.
Yeah, so setting up for the final round, we come off of racing David Quadra, who had a heck of a weekend. We got lucky. The race got postponed on Sunday due to the incident in Top Fuel, and we come back Monday, and the track conditions were quite a bit different. So in first it's a known thing. First pair out for pro stock cars can be tricky. So we had that luck when we needed it, and he had turned it red when we both had shaken the tires, and I'd already pedaled it and I already had it back in gear, and kind of around that time I could see the wind light on. So no use in continuing to punish the equipment, but Chase and Jake and Kyle and Timmy, Anthony, they all kind of went back and studied what happened and put their heads together, and they made some great decisions there for that final round, and we got just enough to do the job.
Yeah, got it done. I forgot a little bit about that tire shake battle, right? Like you guys just rattled it. He was 5 thou red, by the way.
Yes.
Trying to win his very first race, getting close, and 5 thou red just rattled the earth. People, you can feel it on the starting line when a pro stocker shakes the tires like that. I can't imagine it's too fun inside the race car.
No, definitely rattles your brain a little bit, but like I said, I mean, they're those Quadra boys are good racers, and everyone knows it. They can beat you. They can beat you at any time, no matter the circumstances. So I think we're probably going to see them in the winner's circle here soon. But man, it was good to have things go our way there, and we took advantage of it. And Greg's always tough, and he's trying to get himself into that championship position. So it was that was an important round as any other of them have been in this countdown. So he knew what was at stake, and I know what was at stake. And we Chase, and like I said, Chase, Jake, Kyle, Timmy, Anthony, they've done such a great job of no, I wouldn't say filling in for Mark Ingersoll, but taking on, trying to take on his role. I mean, he played an enormous role. He plays an enormous role in our team, and he set us up for success. And we can't do it without him. So it's been very cool to see, kind of all these guys trying to, learning from Mark and building off of it, and coming to the racetrack and being successful.
Yeah, Mark Anderson, if you're out there, I appreciate you. All right, let's talk a little bit about this race this week, the In-N-Out Burger Finals at Pomona. The way I look at the point standings, it's 1.5 points. If you and Greg Anderson were to run in the semis, and I don't mean to be like point you out, but it's just a statement of fact, right? If you and Greg run in the semis and he wins and then wins the race, he's still the champ, depending on what Dallas does. And we'll talk to Dallas as best as we can, but that's not comfortable. Like losing in the semis to Greg Anderson is something that can happen on a regular basis. That's not comfortable. So as much as you've positioned yourself to control your own destiny, go win the race, beat Greg Anderson in the semifinals, and then suddenly you can become the champion. A few bonus points in qualifying could change everything. So what is your outlook on the final race and locking up the championship? Like, what's it going to take?
Well, the way I look at it is I need to go up there and just keep kind of doing what I've been doing. I think I've had some really good days behind the wheel, and I think our team has had consistently a great race car. So I think we got to go up there with that same mindset. I mean, we're going there to win, and in my mind, that's what it's going to take to win the championship. So, and of course, qualifying points are very important. We're going to try to pick up as many of those as we can, but we're going there with the goal to win. And if we don't win, we might not win the championship. So that's kind of our mindset.
Very, very exciting.
Which is very exciting for everyone watching. It's fun. It's fun being the driver, of course, but it's definitely a little stressful.
All right, let's talk about some big news that happened at SEMA. Your dad is coming back. He's coming back to Pro Stock. You versus your dad. You're wearing the shirt, the Pro Superstar Shootout, February, Bradenton Motorsports Park. First time you guys will be on track together, as I understand it. All of that is super cool. But for me, WFO Radio, your dad was the first to put a WFO Radio podcast sticker on his car of anybody that I remember. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember it.
I do.
He's coming back.
Yes, it's that's the stuff dreams are made on right there. Getting a race with my dad. I mean, obviously I grew up watching him do it. So in my eyes, he's my hero. So to have the opportunity to race him, he might be already talking a little smack, but
no,
it's gonna be a great time. And thank you to Pat Quinn, Joe Janik, the Rod Shop, Gil and Rick Kirk. It's been in the works for a little while, and I'm glad we've been able to figure out how to make it all work out. And Richard Freeman's been obviously a very important part of the puzzle here, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we still plan on continuing to help and support and build the Factory X class, and I think the best way for us to do that is to not be behind the wheel and helping people race the class. So
yeah. Congratulations to him. I plan on speaking to him at a later date about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. Since you mentioned Factory X, Factory Stock Showdown, I did want to ask, just like, there's so many details in the weeds. We'll talk about that at a later date. But I heard someone is proposing to make Factory Stock Showdown index themed, something like that. Have you heard that? And I'm against it. I just want you to know that. I'm dragging you in on my negative.
I've heard, everybody's got opinions, but I personally don't foresee that happening. I think it's a heads up class, and I think NHRA wants it to be a heads up class, and I could be totally wrong on that, but I see it. I see we've got plenty of room to grow, and there's a lot of things NHRA's worked on this year to try to make it better for the racers, and it's caused some growing pains, of course, but I think all in all, it will result in better racing and better for the racers. So, thank you to them for trying to do their best to provide us with the most equal and fair playing field.
Excellent. You're in the middle of a championship battle. There's been a lot of stuff that has happened, but you and I talked about it at SEMA that we're going to have a conversation at a later date, right? Like in the winter break, we're going to talk about different things that went down. Just because I don't want people thinking like, why, Joe, why aren't you last time? Why didn't you ask Aaron about this or about that? And the answer is, in my opinion, now isn't the time, but you sounded like you were cool to have a deeper conversation at a point in the future.
Yes, I think definitely in the future we can have a conversation about all of it, and when the emotions have calmed down. But I think right now, I think the best thing I can do is focus on what's right in front of me, and what's right in front of me is a great opportunity for myself and all the great people that are involved with us. And I think there's something to be learned from every situation. And I think we are definitely on that path, and I'm looking forward to our future. I think Factory Stock and Factory X have a great future, and we're going to be there. We're going to be there every step of the way. So we just might not be behind the wheel. I think my dad and I's best place to be racing, personally driving, is in Pro Stock. That's where that's where my whole entire life has been watching or been part of, has been Pro Stock, and as well as my dad. So I'm excited for the future, and we'll continue to learn and grow.
I agree. I'm a fan of Pro Stock, and as much as I love Factory X, and I think those cars are very cool and they're beautiful, I love Pro Stock. And people, they don't understand it. They don't get it, like what it is, the pinnacle of naturally aspirated racing, where the driver is shifting and factors in. And if they don't get it, that's fine. There's a lot of us that love it and get it, and the connection to Warren Johnson and Grumpy Jenkins and Bob Glidden and all those guys. And you're like one of those guys. Like that. So is Dallas. Dallas is driving tractor trailers across the country. You're getting your hands dirty. You're working on engines. So many things like that that's happening right now. So I'm excited for you, Aaron. I'm excited for this championship fight, whichever way it goes. You've had a great year. Jason and Nikki Johnson, they picked the right guy at the start of this season.
They did, man. I'm just so thankful to Jason and Nikki. They're fun people to race with, and to be able to represent their brand and them giving me the opportunity to do that, and us as a team taking advantage of that opportunity, it's been a great experience. And as well as the Mellings, that Melling family is a great family, and it's they've done so much for the Elite Motorsports team, and to just have some opportunities to represent people like this, it's been a blessing.
Amazing. Well, it's wild. Final race, 3 drivers, legit chance. It's going to be wild. And I can't wait to see it, right? Good luck with dealing with the nerves. I certainly felt them last year. Top Fuel, final round, final race. That's what lies ahead, but it's the biggest stage in drag racing, and you're going to be on it. So good luck, have fun, and enjoy the moment.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. Aaron Stanfield with us here on WFO Radio. We're going to try to check in with more of our championship contenders.
This is WFO Radio.
Foggit is a high-performance fogging oil designed especially for internal combustion engines. Foggit can be used by everyone. If you have a lawnmower, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a tractor, a high-performance car, a classic car, racing vehicles, if it has a cylinder wall, it needs Foggit.
And we are back. That is right. Pro stock points, 3 drivers within 2 rounds. It's going to be amazing. Just heard from Aaron Stanfield. Time to hear from number 2 in the point standings, Mr. Dallas Glenn. 00 Dallas, what's up? Where you at? You're still in Vegas, I'm sure, headed to Pomona soon.
Yeah, still in Vegas. I'm just at my parents' house right now. I was going to be heading out to the track, but when we went to load the car last night, the fuel pump took a crap on me. So we're just changing that this morning. I'll probably head out a little bit later, get my 1 run tomorrow morning before first round.
There you go. Very nice. Very nice. As we catching up with Dallas Glenn. All right. So I don't want to bring up bad memories, but Christian Quadra, hey, you're 23, right? Like, that's not bad. I bet you'd make a deal to be 23 like every round if you could. They took a shot and it landed, and now we got a very, very interesting finals at In-N-Out Burger Pomona Dragstrip.
Yeah, definitely not where I wanted to leave Vegas, at. But there's worse places to be for sure. Christian definitely did his job. He went up there. He was great on the tree, and they hopped his car up, and it stuck. And he had a good car all day until we had to come back on Monday, which that was a whole other interesting, whole thing altogether. But I still got a great car, and we just need to, we made a couple laps on Monday testing, just to try to see if we can find any little bit of anything, and we'll just go to Pomona and throw everything we have at it, and hopefully we can go one round farther than everybody else.
Exactly. And for those that, we got the shadow like right on your face. I'm okay with it. I don't want the sun burning your eyes, Dallas. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So this is what you wanted though, right? Like, this is it. This is what you dream of. You're the kid in the backyard swinging the bat. They never say, it's like the 3rd inning and it's June playing at, like, it's always the bottom of the 9th, 2 out, championship on the line. And as a drag racer, bracket racer, this has to be what you always wanted to be involved in, a race at In-N-Out Burger Pomona Dragstrip in the finals against a young gun such as yourself, and arguably the greatest of all time for the championship. And, Erica's still there wanting to ruin someone's day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It could go a lot of different ways there on Pomona. Greg is fantastic at the end of the year in Pomona, as I don't know how many times he's won there. I know it's probably double digits. But I've won in the spring there, 2 years in a row. So it's a good track for me. I think if I remember correctly, I think Aaron might have been the one who won it last year. So this is definitely going to be a one knockdown, drag out, full battle. Probably it could very well come down to similar to Erica's first championship when it was her and Jason in the final there with whoever get the win light wins. So I could very well see it coming down to something like that, where whoever gets the win light in the final wins the championship.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that was like for those two, having experienced the Leah versus Doug Coletta last year and just like trying to process the moment, how anybody turns a wrench in that moment. I get it. We're all professionals, Joe. Like, sure, I guess. But my goodness, how intense can it get?
I know you double and triple check more. It's, you do your normal check and double check, and then you go back and then you recheck it, and then you just check it one more time just to make sure, because you absolutely cannot have any mistakes at this point in the season.
Yeah. All right. So I'm looking at the point standings. You're 32 behind Aaron. And, I think it's qualifying points. If you can get that to below 30, that's, mandatory business from your standpoint. For those guys, they got to prevent that from happening. So qualifying, like their job, prevent that from happening. Your job, get it below 30 so that you can, one round decides it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the tiebreaker is. So I think I may have the tiebreaker, but I haven't really looked too closely at it. So the main goal is to get it under 30. So qualifying is definitely going to be very important. And, we definitely, if we don't get it under 30, then all Aaron has to do is make it to the final round, and then he's won it, locked it up, no matter who he's against. But if we can keep it under 30, then it will very well be a final round matchup. And then depending on which way it falls, we can always look at how important those Too Fast, Too Tasty races were throughout the season.
Wow. Tying it all together. This is why they're on, guys. It's for anticipation purposes, all the different permutations of the way things might go. The way I spread it out to Aaron was like Greg is 56 points back. So that's a semifinals loss, and Greg wins. And he could potentially be the champion if we removed you from the scenario. To lose in the semis, that's still not a terrible day, right? Like you go a couple of rounds, but that's what points and a half has done to this finals.
Oh yeah. Points and a half definitely changes everything. And, the way people have been talking about it, it's like, oh, you're coming in with a 3-round lead. It's like, well, it's not 3 rounds once you get to Pomona. So I don't count it as 3 rounds. Pomona is where it all ends. And that's where you have to be in the lead leaving there. So it definitely changes the whole game and scenario.
All right. I'd like to know how you handled, if you can share it, how you handled the loss, because to me, I don't know. I want to know what you say, but like that was like, he's 005. They swung for the fences from their heels and they nailed it, right? Team racing. They got you. Ugh. Do you get angry? Do you just take it? Like, how does Dallas handle a very tough defeat like that?
I kind of just take it for what it is. It is what it is. I didn't do a bad job. We didn't do a bad job. We didn't make a terrible run. I think I might have been 4th for the session, which is, not terrible at all. I don't think we got everything we could have. But even if we did, I don't think it would have been enough to get around him. They made a fantastic run, and he is 00 on the tree. So, it's just kind of one of those. It's drag racing. You're going to lose more than you're going to win, and you just have to kind of tighten everything up, get a little more aggressive, and go after him on the next one.
And I think they were 11 next round against Hartford too. So the kid was driving his butt off on that given day. And what are you going to do? Sometimes they're just seeing it. But I think that's the attitude. I guess that comes from bracket racing or whatever, where everybody gets beaten so many times that as long as you perform well, the highs aren't too high and the lows shouldn't be too low.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to go up there and do the best that you can. I'd probably be a little harder on myself if I was 30 or 40 on the tree, even though it wouldn't have any effect on it. So just knowing that I went up there and I did the best that I could, and I actually did decent, and that it makes it a little bit easier to swallow, even though it's a tough one to swallow.
It's great because if I keep you on long enough, the way the sun is moving, your face will be in the light in about 5 minutes, guys. It's pretty crazy. It was down below Rad Torque Systems, and now it's like on a little bit.
There you go.
Scooch up a little bit, and you'll be great. This year when you look back at it, it's had to have been a lot of fun. But now you're in like this position that you haven't been in. You go into the final race with a shot to win the championship, a legitimate chance in the category that you've always wanted to, not to build it up too big. I'm not trying to make anybody nervous here, but to me, I'm excited already I can't imagine what's going on over there with KB Titan.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely, you know, a lot of the guys flew back to the shop. I'm sure they're going to be testing and looking at different things and trying to see how we can get better and getting a game plan for Pomona. This is definitely number one. Drag racing, the way it's set up is it's a little bit, if you're not first, you're last. So we definitely want to be first when we come out of it. And right now we're basically coming out of turn 4, 3 wide right now, and it's going to be a drag race to the finish line.
So I've mentioned this several times, and my apologies to the audience for belaboring a point, but when you and Greg raced a couple of weeks ago and you lost to Greg, the possibilities, like this is not a Greg Anderson thing to take a team win. Like it's a Greg Anderson win or it's nothing. Like there's not a team car view from Greg. And that's not how everybody plays the game, right? We know that. Had he, I'm not saying dived, but had he not won, you could have gone to the final. You could have won the final. The championship might have been all but assured at this point. Like we just don't know, but that's not Greg Anderson. And every time I bring it up, everybody like yells at me, right? Like, of course, that's not what Greg Anderson does. It's ridiculous. He's out for himself. He's the most competitive person on the planet, and everybody that needs to know that. But I think that's worthy of note, right? And he's still in this mix. How worried are you about Greg, who to me has clearly had the fastest car, quickest car over the past few races?
Oh, he's definitely he's gonna be just as tough as Aaron Stanfield. It's one thing that is what I love about the KB Titan Racing way is, no matter what, everybody's out there to go for a win. Even though we all want each other to do well, when it comes to racing each other, they just do the best that they can to make each car as good as they can. And however it falls, it falls. You could go back and look at, oh, well, if he would have done this, he would have done that. You could always go back and look at if we hadn't shook the tires in Reading against Aaron Stanfield, because I had the best car that day, I could have beaten him there and potentially won that one. And that would have been at minimum a 60-point swing or an 80-point swing, because it stops Aaron from getting the extra 40 points for winning the race, but it also gives me an extra point. So if I jump up 80 points right now, that completely changes the whole outlook of everything.
Right. And we could do that. And that's why I love the countdown, because over the course of a full season, like you can't do that, right? If we did that over 18 races, 20 races, you can't do that. But over 6 races, you really can. If this race, you circle it, that's a race that's going to make a difference in Top Fuel. Antron and Justin Ashley, last race out in Dallas, first round, that could be the race that determines the championship. And I like being able to micro analyze those runs at that level. I wonder, the whole Play NHRA thing, which we are all forbidden from participating online with any stuff, gambling wise, but this is a new era that we're in. There was the pre-Play NHRA, nobody's watching, nobody cares, team racing is okay, do what you want, because what difference does it make? This new era, I think, is different. I don't want to say like prevents anybody from doing any funny business. And let's not talk about pro stock. Let's talk about anywhere at any time. But it was discussed this past week, we're in Vegas, that, hey man, Play NHRA era is potentially different. Speak on that for a moment.
It is. We're not supposed to do any sort of team orders or anything like that. It's the Play NHRA absolutely doesn't want. They want the fans to have the absolute fairest odds that they can get. I don't really understand how it works for F1, because they clearly do stuff like that. Same with NASCAR, but NHRA, we want everything. We want, if somebody puts money on Eric Latino or Greg Anderson or me or Aaron or anybody, to know that they're going to go up there and try to win the race every single run. But it's one thing that they gotta pay attention to. So it's definitely different. I wish I could bet on myself. I would love to kind of put that encouragement on myself, but that's one thing that we're absolutely not allowed to do under any circumstances. So everybody should just go out there and see, maybe put a couple dollars on who you think's going to win.
I like it. I think it's been one of the best things. Yeah, you can't wager on yourself. I understand. Pete Rose can't do it. Formula One, the constructors championship is a big deal there, and the drivers championship is it's a personal thing, but I guess it's just so entrenched in having 2-car teams for so long. It's been happening so long. Everybody is used to it. Like, listen, man, you got to get the guy who's faster, who's got the chance to get in front of you. Whereas drag racing has always been, in many ways, every man for himself. I like the idea of the Play NHRA deal. Everybody thinks, you're making these $500 bets. It's okay to bet $5, folks. Like, it's like a little hit. Don't bet the mortgage. $5 on your guy makes it, fun. You end up winning, $15, $20. It's not like life changing. It's more for the fun of it.
It's I still do, I do have some betting apps, and I do baseball and football and different sports like that. I don't hockey. So one thing that I do like about the betting apps is similar to fantasy football. When you start betting on say I want this team to win, and maybe you try to make a parlay or something like that with a certain player scoring a touchdown or hitting a home run like that, you kind of learn the sport and you pay a little bit more attention to what's going on. And I do think that it does bring great attention to NHRA with all having betting. Somebody they could just be scrolling through their app and go, oh look, NHRA Drag Racing. Let's see, that we could bet on this here, and let's see who's this, here's what's this odds. Okay, well maybe I'll go look that up, and I might put a few dollars on it, and it just brings a little bit more awareness and more attention to everything. And if you go look on some of these sports betting apps, you can bet on like Russian darts and stuff like that that's going on the other side of the country at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's definitely, brings it to a whole new branch of people who may not have even heard of drag racing before.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's been pretty much my analysis as well in that. I don't know how many of the NHRA drag racing fans were ever going to place a wager. I know the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza thing has caught on pretty well because it's, filling out a ladder. Everybody fills out. But where we're going to benefit is when, and I jokingly call them the degenerate gamblers, right? The guys that are looking for action, something to watch, something to bet on. When they figure out that this is a thing and they can watch it on TV and they can place their wager and they get into like a groove, like when to bet, when to watch. And we should be, doing as best as we can. I think we are, to educate about that, like flow. People prepare their NFL wagers the end of the week and they get their wagers in and then they watch on Sunday. We got to teach the people about that. And we've been going for half a year, right? Like it'll grow, but exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some new things. It'd be really cool if you get some live prop betting and stuff like that of, when the next pair comes up and then they have, odds on each pair that are racing, and maybe odds on, what's the, if this driver's going to have, this or better reaction time, or, what the lapse time is going to be, or, just simple wagers like that. It's going to bring a whole nother level of fun and excitement to it. I was just watching the playoff baseball there, and, you can go and bet on each individual pitch if you want to. And I was just looking at that, and it almost adds a little fun. You go put, I think I'm going to put $5 that Freddie Freeman's going to hit a home run right here. And, you could win maybe $100 or something like that, but just adds a little bit. You don't have to go and bankroll your house or anything for it. But, if you go put a couple dollars here or there, just adds a little bit of fun, and you get to pay attention a little bit more.
Are you trying to hurt my feelings, Dallas? Are you trying to bring up old
he
stuff?
just pops back with the hat on.
It's not baseball season anymore, Dallas. Congratulations to the Dodgers. They have Freddie Freeman, though, of all people, to mention. He's giving me nightmares. I like it. We just got to pick up the internet access at the tracks, which like the day that a person can sit in the grandstand and say, Dallas Glenn, 20 reaction time or better. Yes or no, like that. Wow. I agree with you. That will, and me and 10 people could be doing it at the same time and not have connection issues and all. That will be something to look forward to. I don't know, how close we are. If we could do it right now at certain facilities, I'm sure we can. What it takes, I have no idea. But I agree with you. Like, okay, Greg Anderson, will he become number one qualifier or not on this run? Yes. Yeah. And then it's plus 250. That would be something great. But again, it's all about education. This is a long-term deal. NHRA did a good thing. I'm excited. But until then, right? Like the grind of the nerves of rooting for your favorite driver. And I know there's a lot of people that you are their favorite driver. I know Aaron is making a lot of inroads, getting a lot of fans. All the elite guys are with him. The KB people are probably split between you and Greg. Greg has got a legion of fans. There's a lot to watch. Erica fans are just looking to see her spoil it and win the final race of the year. There's a lot of reason to watch Pro Stock in Pomona. So thank you for spending a little time with us here on WFO Radio. Good luck in the race. Great season regardless. And thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. And I'll see everybody in Pomona, and hope everybody can at least watch it on TV if they can't be there.
That is exactly correct. Dallas, thank you so much. And look, we
Thank
can see
you.
his face. The interview.
Hey.
19 minutes. The sun has moved so much we can see his face. It's perfect. Great job, Dallas. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And there he goes, Dallas Glenn, with us here on WFO Radio. How about that? The sun is moving up. The sun is moving up. Now you know why I wear the same shirt every day, right? Just in case we got a time shift, some business there. All right, final thoughts. Put your thoughts in the comment section, guys. I want to hear. You know what I want to hear. Let's do it. Final race. Let's get some predictions. Top Fuel World Champion, Top Fuel race winners. You know the categories. Just put it all there in the chat section. Let's get it going on. Yeah, Joe Lee. It's going to be a nail biter. Yeah. I don't even know how you're going to do it, Joe Lee. Joe Lee was a great supporter of WFO Radio and the Ignition podcast and does a lot of wonderful things. And, you know, her husband and she's going into the fight and, you know, like when you like he's driving, so he's got something to focus on. Last year, sitting on the starting line, watching that winner take all final, I felt this intense anxiety and I got over it. But being in the fight could probably be better than just watching your loved one in the fight. Like it's got to be brutal. It's got to be brutal. So put your comments in the comment section. I'm going to tell you about a couple of different things. Going to tease that Project Pontiac. We got a great audience out there and you're going to get a big thank you for me. But if you want to watch WFO Radio somewhere other than YouTube or X or Facebook, you can find us on PowerTube TV. Download it for Roku or Apple or Samsung or wherever if you've cut the cord. It's an app. All the great pastime shows and all of those shows are available on PowerTube TV. A bunch of great creators. I ran into a couple of them out there at the SEMA show, and we had a good time. And they're building a network, and it's cool that they take our WFO programming, and I've been told that the show is very popular. Of all the interview shows, it is the most downloaded, et cetera, and so on, or watched or streamed started, or however the stuff works when you cut the cord, which I'll be doing very soon. Check out PowerTube TV. Really appreciate those folks and everybody behind the scenes. If you want to become a Patreon, you got a whole season of Hear It from Heiner waiting for you. Pro Stock, behind the scenes, Michael Heiner making predictions, talking about tuning and setup and switch and all of these different things. You can become a WFO Patreon. And it's great in the off season too, because we do a lot of content just for the Patreons. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. And you get Monday motivation. And I give you a lot of, I share my vulnerabilities. Oh, you love it. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. Marvin Rodak. This is the guy who was, it's a drag race. He or Frank Hawley, first ever sponsor. And I think it was Frank, but it might've been Marvin. It was close. It was like the same day. 817-924-6821. Order coffee for the holidays, guys. It's a great gift that everybody loves. It's cold in many places, not in Florida. But you get your bag of Rodak's coffee, hot sauce, spice rub. Give them a call. You don't have to do the holiday packs like I do. You can just order, 10 pounds of coffee, and it'll roast it up fresh per your order, and then you distribute as needed, as you like these people. But give them a call, 817-924-6821. If you're in the Fort Worth, Texas area, call him up and go buy. You can get grills and tools and tips and information. He's got all kinds of great stuff there. The best of the best at Rodak's. Get your Christmas gifts there. Amazing. And another great gift for the holidays. That's right. We're talking holidays, Black Friday. Oh my gosh. It's like in a couple of weeks. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Drive a dragster, the Dragster Adventure. Every time we come on the air, people are talking about how much fun they have driving dragsters. I know I certainly did a couple of weeks ago. You can do it with nothing except for money. You need money. Show up with the clothes on your back and you leave with the experience of a lifetime. And it makes a great gift. Gift it. Go to frankhawley.com. Call them. Tell them that you heard about it on WFO Radio, like you and your peoples driving dragsters. What is more fun than that? You and your peoples driving dragsters. Let's watch this. That's what it looks like. You and your people driving dragsters for the day. How much fun is that going to be? And maybe you want to get your own. These are the programs that are available at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Go to frankhawley.com. When they pick up the phone and say hello, you say, WFO told me to call. And then see how it goes. No guarantees how that's going to work out for you. But they're used to it by now. WFO merch on sale. Discounted as we speak. Mugs and hats and shirts and hoodies. Winter is coming. Get your WFO hoodies, all this stuff. Listen, I know I'm hitting you hard with the spots, but I took in an episode of Joe Rogan recently, and it's like they hit you hard with the spots, baby. At least this is all drag racing stuff. And at least you can reach out to me and tell me you don't like it. But that's how we keep going. And our great sponsors like Foggit and Rodax and Samtech, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology down there in Houston area of Texas, and Bernie Speed Shop and Hussey Performance, Hussey Copper, not just Copperhead gaskets anymore, HusseyPerformance.net. They're making gaskets that are sourced in the United States, made in America, valve cover gaskets, anything you need, reach out to David and the team. 724-318-8292. David Allen is getting on the map with other styles of gaskets, which is really great. Really great. Thanks, David, for coming back to the show. A great friend, Matt in Australia, Torque Calibration Services of Australia, and FTI and Total Seal. Got a new episode of Hidden Horsepower we're going to work on a little bit later on today. And Jesse Converters. Scan that QR code to learn a little bit more. It comes with everything you need. It is a direct replacement for the OE. So for those of you that are in the heavy diesels, you're looking for a direct replacement, DPF X Fit. Scan that QR code, and you'll see I was just actually reading up on Jesse Converters, and just it's an exact fit design for ease of removal and installation. It includes OEM quality clamps and gaskets, high quality stainless steel. Eric Latino, Matt Latino, the folks at Jesse have done a great job. And what sport do we have more tractor trailers going over the road? All right, let's see what you guys got to have to say, your thoughts and predictions, and we'll share a little Project Pontiac because it's going to be in the booth, the Foggit booth at PRI. Now that SEMA is in the rear movie mirror, assuming everything goes well at the dyno test. All right, Elite Auto Detailing says Aaron Stanfield's going to win in Pro Stock, the race and the championship. Keith Kaufman says Justin, Austin, Dallas, and Gage are going to win the championship. See, 2 out of those 4 are already pretty much foregone conclusion. But Justin and Dallas would be coming from behind, and Justin would be winning from the lead. You know, a top fuel dragster, right? Like, it's an unpredictable machine. It's an unpredictable. So is a Pro Stocker, though. Could shake the tires. Like, what could have ruined the run in Pro Stock? Shaking the tires, losing on a whole shot, all of that stuff. 1,000th of a second. Top fuel dragster, you got to go out there. You got to go down the racetrack. Pomona, as it gets late in the day, it's a very tough track, and conditions are going to be really good. It's going to be intense. You got Antron Brown, who's experienced his greatest career moments there. Sean Langdon, who seemed like he was looking for redemption in the press conference, but handling it well. The thing about Sean is handling it very well. Called himself like the cone eater club or something. Let's see. Jolie, it's harder when there is absolutely nothing you can do. That's my take as well, Jolie. And you're just standing there watching Aaron do his thing. Jolie, did you go bracket racing this weekend? I did not get a report. What happened? The end of the season coming is the beginning of depression until next season starts, says Henry G. Henry, WFO does not stop We continue. We scale down a little, but not a lot. We got to catch up with all the champions. You're going to get some Project Pontiac. You're going to get some PRI Trade Show. So WFO Radio TV on YouTube. Guys, we're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We, Clay's got 100,000 subscribers. We'd be happy to get 5. And our podcast feed is obviously very well listened to for many, many years. But now we're doing the YouTube deal. Subscribe, share it with some people. Click the bell, all that. But fear not, Henry. We will continue the show. And everybody is telling me they're trying to convince me to bring back the holiday show. I don't know. A lot of stress with that. Ashley, Prock, Glenn, Herrera. Okay. Aaron Stanfield for first Pro Stock Championship. Okay. This weekend will be exciting to watch. But you stay on the fence there, Monica. Right? Like, yeah, that definitely will be exciting to watch. I think so too. Erica Enders, race winner. You know what? Elite Auto Detailing. I kind of have that vibe as well. But when was the last time Erica was like a non-factor? Yeah, I can't remember it. Erica not being a factor. I don't know. I think Erica could factor in to this deal somehow, some way. We'll see. Keith, so happy the NHRA moved the Gator Nationals to the first race of the season. Less time to have to wait for the 2025 season start. It's really kind of the same amount of time. But we started before in Pomona. I do think that Pomona 1 works better a little bit into the season. And the Gator Nationals work better as the first race of the season. You got the Pro Superstar Shootout, which is happening again in Bradenton. And it's going to be a little different this year, but a really big deal. And you get all these nitro teams that can camp in Florida and take advantage of the great weather and all the wonderful things in Florida. And then we start with Orlando, the Baby Gators, Gator Nationals, 3 consecutive weeks of NHRA drag racing within 2 hours of each other. And I will hopefully, if everything goes right, and there's no guarantee that will be happening, we'll be racing in 2 of those 3 races. Sad it's the last race. Let's go JFR. Kara, I sent you your stickers, by the way. They're in the mail. Yeah, you can get free WFO stickers if you just fill out a self-addressed stamped envelope, guys. Kara did, and she got some stickers. Dallas for the win in the championship. Okay. See you on NHRA TV this weekend, Joe. Thank you. Ford says, Joe, being an older fan, the biggest winner this year for me was seeing the youth movement in the sport and young fans in the stands. Great year. Really was. Austin Prock, he's no old guy. Austin Prock. And that's the thing about kids, guys. You know, we're all just slow walking to the grave. And the kids, they're not. They want to root for other kids. They like, you look at Austin and you look at someone who's older and the young guy, who are they going to gravitate to? They're going to go gravitate to Austin. We needed this. And you got Austin Prock and you've got all these different people for people to root for. Aaron and Dallas and Greg, guys like, you know, older guys are rooting for Greg Anderson, wanting to whoop those kids. Perfect. Look, David's out there. Hussey Performance. What's up, David? Thank you for using WFO to promote your company. And, you know, we do have limited positions for the 2025 season if you're out there. Let's see. If my Capco boys get number 1 and Steve wins the event, then I'm pretty sure mathematically he'll be in the world championship again. I pray to the Nitro Ninja Metal God that this happens. Yeah, I don't see it. And I trust the people who booked the NHRA press conference. Right? But you never know. Steve Torrence talked to him in the booth at SEMA, and he is a motivated individual. I'm concerned about these rear end situation. Nobody to blame, nothing to say. But you know, in the custody of a part, there's there's a lot of things that happen. Like where is it sourced, and what about the machining process and the heat treating process, and all of these different things. It just seems, is it an anomaly that what's happened? Is it not an anomaly? Will that rear its head before the season is over? I don't know. I don't know. Scott says, Pomona, Clay. And that's a good pick. Austin, Dallas, Gage are the champs. Justin, Austin, Dallas, and Gage are champs. Okay, so to win the race, Clay is really the only one that is a kind of an anomaly. Scott, who is from Canada and came down to Vegas and hung out. Robbie Glenn. I always hoped I'd be the first Glenn to win a Pro Stock championship. Dallas will do it, though. Facts. Good job. Henry, I'll be looking forward to your shows, Joe, and I can't wait to hear and see the progress on Project Pontiac. And hint for the Josh news. How do you not know, Nicole? Go watch. It's just like I built it up to be too much. Look, Josh Hart doesn't stand still. And people are out there, the silly season of who's going where and what's happening and which one will end up where and increasing of the brain trust. These are things that are happening with all of the teams. And you know that. Everybody knows that. It's just musical chairs who will end up where. Josh Hart had his worst season as a professional. Tough stuff. He's not going to just stand on that. Just take it. And Ron Douglas, who is a very smart and good guy, like you look at all these other teams and you see that you have to have multiple heavy hitters when it comes to crew chiefing and tasking. You got to have multiple. Some have got the best teams have got 3, right? So we'll see. Silly season as always, all Reinhart. All right. Before we get out of here, I promised you. I just got these today. For those that don't know, Project Pontiac is something that I've been working on to get this car back on the racetrack again. It was kind of, in a way, a race against time. My dad, I wanted him to see the car on the racetrack. We now know that that's not going to happen. But everyone tells me he'll see it, and I believe him. That's what I think. But we got to get this thing done. And the story is the easiest road to NHRA competition is Super Street, because the cars can be big and heavy, 2,800 pound minimum. This is the car I have as an old bracket car. What am I going to do with it? Could put it back on the street. I could make it a pro touring car. I could go cruise it around like a pro street car. I could just put it in car shows. But since I like drag racing, I'm an NHRA person. I've got all these NHRA competition numbers, even though I don't have a track for hundreds of miles. The thing I always wanted to do with the car was to make it a super street car, 1090 index racing. Go out there like Jack Beckman and Sean Langdon and Erica Enders and everybody that .90 raced, and go out there and get on the pro tree and race. And it will be something then, as opposed to just a Trans Am. We bought this thing brand new. It's got 63,000 original miles. It's an amazing machine. It's got a 4-link, back half, roll cage. It's one best appearing for Division 2, and it's been sitting in our garage doing nothing for over 2 decades. And with a lot of motivation from my fellow friends and drag racers at the NHRA, a lot of people like really nagging me about it. And the realization that this is my job to do this. Like everybody's doing build projects. Everybody, I got a podcast, I got a race car, and I spent 15 years thinking that I shouldn't work on my own stuff. That I shouldn't, because that's playing with my toy. And I let it degrade and fall apart. And it was a mistake, and I should never make that mistake again. But now with friends and a lot of people, sponsors, the people that I'm telling you about, people who have helped out throughout, people who have taken special interest in what I'm doing, and helping me to go out there and do things that I could not do by myself, because I just don't have the knowledge or the trust. The local community here in South Florida, they all died. Everybody got old. And when the tracks close, folks, don't let your tracks close. Don't let them close. The businesses move away. And who do you trust? What do you do? I can't even find a mechanic here in South Florida anymore. But fortunately, Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams, folks at Foggett took an interest in our story, and they have knowledge in this area. My friend Charlie Kababi, who is a Pontiac expert here in South Florida, has been helping and consulting with me for many, many years. John Gadosh was super excited about it, like wanting to help. Edelbrock wanting to help. FTI Performance wanting to help. Everybody wanted to help. So these were texted to me earlier today. The first shots you're going to get. of the Project Pontiac engine. The engine will be in the booth at the PRI trade show. Edelbrock Ram Air 4 cylinder heads. Edelbrock intake manifold prepared by Wilson, thanks to Robbie and Keith Wilson, who forced themselves upon this project. Like, you send me the manifold. Well, I don't want to take advantage. Send me the manifold. Like, that's what it was like. Wilson Manifolds. Amazing. Philadelphia Racing Products, the Schoenbergers with the valve covers. Amazing. It says Project Pontiac, guys. It's CNC machined in there. Very excited, but these do not do it justice. You will have to go by the Fonget booth at the PRI trade show. We're going to dyno it this month. So when I let the car degrade and got behind it, and there's a lot of things that happened in that story, a divorce, moving for a job at XM Satellite Radio, took me away from racing. Maybe I'm not a racer anymore, that kind of stuff. Don't ever let your equipment fall apart, guys. Maintenance. Don't let your fall apart, because you'll never get it back to where it once was. And I just posted a video, me and my dad, drag racing at Marusa Motorsports Park, the origin story of Project Pontiac. It's in our feed under the Project Pontiac playlist. That I was trying to get back to that moment. Getting out of the car, won the race. My dad is there. Try to get back. I will be so thrilled to just be on the racetrack. The only way I knew to get this thing right, again, was to start from nearly absolute scratch. And that's where we're at. We have an all-new driveline, working on the chassis as best as I can. It's so amazing how people have wanted to be involved and help out. So when these photos came through, that's a Stennet stop and carburetor up on top. I'm pretty excited. And that will unlock the next wave of stress and anxiety. Can we make it to the track? Can we make it to Orlando? Can we get this thing in before all that stuff? We're going to do a celebration of life for my dad in early January in Pompano Beach, Florida. What a year it has been. What a year. Thank you to all the WFO listeners. Appreciate everybody. Once Austin wins the championship, will John announce retired? I don't want to get in John Force's head. I'm going to save that for him. He will make that decision as to what he's going to do with his career. My opinion is that John Force has done everything he needs to do. If he's trying to prove to people he's a good driver, what does he want to do for himself and his fun? What does his family think, about what he should do? If you're asking my opinion, I think what we saw him do this past week is exactly what he should do. As far as Rookie of the Year goes, Richard Gadsden, amazing. Daniel Wilkerson has done a great job. Tony Stewart. The team has underperformed, but has Tony underperformed? Hasn't Tony made a couple of final rounds? Hasn't Tony kind of taken over as the face of the sport? I don't know. I'm going to go vote. I love Daniel Wilkerson, and Richard Gadsden, amazing. We're just going to have to wait and see. Motor looks amazing. Thank you all for your support, guys. See you in Pomona. Thanks to Aaron, Alan, and Dallas.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.